You may or may not have noticed that many of our children, our young people, and some of our families are not here with us in the sanctuary today, and we did not do our usual ritual of offering and singing our blessings to them. That is because we are having a family ministry chapel today, and many of our young people and their families are over in the Sawyer wing having a great time together for the entire service. All righty, it is time for some wonderful volunteers to come on up and join us here. We should have 5 over here and 5 over here. Women's History Month is a time for honoring and celebrating the female-identified people of our past and our present who have offered us insight, guidance, leadership, and inspiration. Now, some of you may remember that last March, during one of our Sunday services, we were blessed to have some of the great women of this congregation sharing words of wisdom from Unitarian Universalist women of our past. This morning, we are going to do that again, but with different readings by women from a variety of backgrounds and traditions. Number 1.
Good morning. My name is Sojourner Truth. I'm an American abolitionist and suffragette. And I say, if the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down, these women together ought to be able to turn it right again.
Frida Kahlo, Mexican painter and political activist. At the end of the day, we can endure much more than we think we can. You deserve the best, the very best, because you are one of the people in this world who are honest to themselves, and that is the only thing that really counts.
Rosa Parks, American civil rights icon. People always say that I did not give up my seat because I was tired. But that's not true. I was not tired physically, or no more tired than I usually was at the end of a working day. I was not old, although some people have an image of me as being old then. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in.
Malala Yousafzai, Nobel Prize winner and Pakistani human rights activist. When the whole world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful. I raise up my voice not so I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard. We cannot succeed when half of us are held back. If one man can destroy everything, why can't one girl change it?
Amy Tan, novelist best known as author of The Joy Luck Club. When you read about the lives of other people, people of different circumstances or similar circumstances, you are part of their lives for that moment. You inhabit their lives and you feel what they're feeling, and that is compassion. If we see that reading does allow us that, we see how absolutely essential reading is.
Rita Moreno, Emmy, Oscar, Tony, and Grammy award-winning actress and performer. My first American experience was in the harbor of New York City when I saw that amazing, big, tall lady. I remember thinking, oh my goodness, a lady runs this country.
June Jordan, African-American poet, activist, and teacher. In addition to the traditional concept of true commitment that means you are willing to die for what you think is right, may we make equal space for the womanly concept of commitment that means you are willing to live for what you believe.
From Sonia Sotomayor, Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. Experience has taught me that you cannot value dreams according to the odds of their coming true. Their real value is in stirring the will to aspire. That will, wherever it finally leads, does at least move you forward. May we recognize that the measure of success is not how far we've come in a distant goal, but the quality of what we've done today.
Go ahead.
Kamala Harris, former Vice President of the United States. My daily challenge to myself is to be part of the solution, to be a joyful warrior in the battle to come. My challenge to you is to join that effort, to stand up for our ideals and our values. Let's not throw up our hands when it's time to roll up our sleeves. Not now, not tomorrow, not ever.
Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, President of our Unitarian Universalist Association. No matter how tired we may become, let us never give up on the work of justice. No matter how others work to shame those beloved among us, including ourselves, may our response be love and ever more love. No matter how we may feel we have failed in times past, let us remember that we have everything we need to start again.
For many years, our congregation has been involved in an important outreach program which provides essential products to women and girls in many parts of the world. This morning, our entire offering collection will be donated to Days for Girls. To tell us more about this organization, here is Nancy Matuyanis.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the invitation to speak. I'm happy to speak about Days for Girls, an organization that I've been a member of for the last 7 years. Days for Girls was founded in 2008. Move this up. I'm kind of tall. By Celeste Mergens. When on a trip to Kenya, she learned that during their periods, many young girls sat on pieces of cardboard during the days of their period, and could not go to school, could not do anything, sometimes didn't eat, and were shunned by the community. She thought disposable products were the way to go, but realizing that they're expensive, difficult to distribute, and dispose of, she came up with the idea of washable, reusable kits for these girls to use, also due to cost. These are sewn and prepared by Days for Girls chapters all over the United States and the world. And one of the things that Days for Girls also does is tries to support local women and in the communities to have enterprises to sew and prepare these products for people in their communities and their countries. Along with these products, Days for Girls provides holistic menstrual education and advocacy for things such as period-friendly workplaces and the reduction and the removal of taxes on period products. In 2023, Days for Girls reached over 370,000 individuals, including those affected by conflict and disaster. So these kits were sent to, have been sent to Syria and places like that. If you picture period poverty, which is how we describe people who can't afford menstrual products, if you picture that, you usually think it's people outside the United States. But indeed, here in the United States, period poverty is a real problem. And there are girls here in Louisville, Kentucky, who cannot go to school because they don't have period products, and they can be shamed and bullied about having their period. So Days for Girls is trying to expand some efforts within the United States, and we welcome any suggestions, comments, ideas you might have for distribution here in Louisville. The Louisville Days for Girls team was started in 2017 by two members from here at All Peoples. Over the years, the group has grown to 10 individuals, both sewers and non-sewers. So you don't have to sew to be able to join the group. The team is dedicated to providing sustainable period products. And that's really our core mission, is to provide something that can be reused. And indeed, the kits, which are on display out in the gathering space, are designed to last for 3 years if properly cared for. I joined because sewing is one of my superpowers, and I wanted to use my superpower for good. Since 2017, we estimate we've prepared components for up to 1,000 kits, which is a lot of work when you figure we meet 4 hours a week. And there was this thing called COVID in between all this, and we switched our sewing skills to making masks. Each kit contains about 12 sewn items, and again, you'll be able to see those out in the gathering space. We provided kits that went to the COFAN people last year. Sheila and I both went down to Ecuador to provide the education and the kits, as well as other people in the congregation. And recently, we sent 40 kits with a team from U of L to the Philippines, and it was incredibly well received. Our team welcomes donations of quilting cotton. You know, we've got to get these resources somewhere. And a lot of people donate their quilting cotton and maybe thread, things like that. But the kits are prepared in such a way that they do need some specialized materials which require purchase. It's not something that someone has laying around. So money from today's offering will be given to Days for Girls so we can continue our mission and buy the products that we need in order to continue to prepare these kits and these items for girls across the world, actually. What we do is we send a lot of our components to a clearinghouse in Pittsburgh, and then Days for Girls then collates the kits and provides them to organizations worldwide. Members of the team will be out in the gathering space after the service to answer questions, and I personally really appreciate everything that All Peoples has done for this project. Thank you.
You can donate to support Days for Girls by cash or check, or as we pass the plates here in the sanctuary, or by going to our website at allpeoplesuu.com and clicking on the Give Plus button, or by texting to the number on the screen. Be sure to select Days for Girls from the menu to designate your contribution. To inspire us now, we have some special music. Chris?
Thank you, Chris, and thank you to all the wonderful women who got up and read those amazing words from those amazing people for us today. With all of the news about just how dangerously dysfunctional and profoundly destructive our nation's government is rapidly becoming these days, I have been seeking solace and inspiration by trying to look for those moments, to reflect on some moments in our collective history when Americans got it together and were successful in advancing the course of liberation and liberty. I was reading an article the other day about the passage of the 19th Amendment, the addition to our Constitution which granted women the right to vote. The history books tell us that this amendment was passed in 1919 and adopted in 1920. But they often do not explain its fuller story. Gaining the right to full participation in our democracy for women was the result of decades and decades of dedicated work by not only famous faces like Susan B. Anthony, who, by the way, was a Unitarian Universalist, but work by thousands and thousands of women whose names are not held up and celebrated as perhaps they should be. And these were not all well-educated, upper-class white women. They were women of diverse economic, social, cultural, and racial backgrounds. One of the things that really struck me in reading about this great chapter in our nation's becoming was that much of the most vehement opposition to the 19th Amendment came from those who were very concerned that giving women the ability to vote might radically change everything. Since those who are female identified were and remain the slight majority of Americans, detractors to the amendment were very worried. They were worried that women might band together and begin to vote as a bloc. They feared that this would result in women taking over our entire government, not only on the federal level, but also in state and local governments as well. These opponents were alarmed by the possibility that women might gain the power to elect women as presidents and governors, appoint an all-female Supreme Court, and more. Now, over a century later, we have seen that none of that has happened, or at least not yet. Political analysts tell us that more women than men voted in the years 2016 and 2024. Yet the female presidential candidates in both of those elections were defeated by a man who, well, one could say he exemplifies the very worst of toxic masculinity. Now, perhaps all this is a testament to the stubborn staying power of patriarchy in our culture. Perhaps it is also something that goes to show us that all women don't think alike, don't believe alike, don't hold the same political persuasions just because of their gender identity. Did you know that the word suffrage, which has come to mean the franchise of voting in democratic societies, and was used to identify those who marched in the streets and organized for equality as suffragettes, that term was originally used to describe a form of public petitionary prayer, group praying, asking for God's intervention and divine assistance. Linguists tell us that sometime in the 1700s, the traditional meaning of the word suffrage, a prayer, was combined with a similar sounding medieval Latin term, which referred to the ability to select, support, and demand aid, and quickly began to be used with its current meaning as the right to vote. Now, the part of me that loves liberation theology embraces the history of this term as, I don't know, maybe it's evidence that our work to defend and expand democracy, to ensure that every person has a voice in matters that concern them, maybe that is truly holy work indeed. These last few weeks, we have been celebrating Women's History Month here at All Peoples. We do this not because we assign any particular meaning or value to specific gender labels or roles. We are a community which openly and unapologetically embraces the reality that gender is a many splendid thing, and it must never be confined to binary labels. We honor and celebrate women's history because we recognize that the dynamics of our male-dominated culture have played and continue to play a large role in the lives of all of us. The female-identified people whose inspiring words we were blessed to hear shared earlier in our service, each of them are calling to us. They call us all to see one another as full human beings and to never confine or reduce anyone to labels or roles or boxes because of their identity. They urge us to continue to be a force for love and for liberation, especially in these times when those in power seem more determined than ever to restrict people's freedoms, to control our lives, to control our bodies. As we endure the very real attacks on ourselves, on our neighbors, and on our values, which are taking place every day right now, remembering the great women of our past, honoring them is an act of resistance. Holding up those who refused to be limited, silenced, or diminished because of their gender identity is more important for us to do than ever before. We honor them by continuing their vision. It is recorded that during the last years of the 1800s, a suffragette leader was meeting with Susan B. Anthony. This woman had become deeply discouraged by the opposition she was encountering and the slow pace of the movement for women's rights. She expressed her doubts to Susan B. Anthony, asking, "What if our aspirations for equality are simply impractical and unrealistic, and they can never be won?" Susan B. Anthony is said to have replied, "Forget about being conventional. Forget what the world thinks of you stepping out of your place. Think your best thoughts. Speak your best words. Work your best works. Look to your own conscience for approval." Now, when I read those words, I couldn't help but think that maybe Susan B. Anthony was talking to me, talking to all of us as we face these troubling times together. On your seat when you arrived for our service this morning, there was this little flyer that I hope you will pick up. It highlights some positive actions that you can take right now in the coming weeks with others from here at All Peoples. I encourage you to fold it up and put it in your pocket, take it home, and look through that list and think about one of those things, or maybe many more, that you can go out and do. This coming Saturday, our entire congregation is going to be joining with folks from all across our city at a rally downtown in front of Metro Hall to raise our voices to support democracy, to defend our constitutional form of government, and to insist that every person be treated with dignity and respect. I'm going to be there, and I hope you will be too. As we show up, as we speak out, as we take action together, may Susan B. Anthony's words inspire us. May the vision and the deeds and the lives of all the women of our history continue to show us what love and liberation look like in practice. May they empower us and remind us that our small little acts or our big public witness, whichever they are, they still matter. They matter because they sustain us. They connect us with other amazing people right here in Louisville. And they connect us to our best selves. They bring to life that vision of a better, more loving world. They give us hope that the world we need, we want, can be reality. Happy Women's History Month to each and every one of you. Amen. And so may it be.